IPMNation.com.
Hi, it's Stephen Farquhar from TryH2. If you're interested in learning about Brian's Perfect 10, the all-natural products he is using to keep awake and alert in his 24-hour marathon, then please visit us at tryh2.com. That's TRYH2.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome. Thank you for joining me. We're into hour 8, the 24-hour all-natural being marathon. My attempt to figure out, it's funny, Misty was just saying in the last hour, oh, she doesn't have internet. Well, apparently we don't either. I cannot figure out for the life of me, right? Broadcast interrupted. Well, of course it is. So here's the thing. If you're tuning in to watch on either Facebook or YouTube, don't forget, you can also hang out over at IPMNation.com/ANB now. You'll get the full audio and you won't worry about all this. We can't figure it out. We've done everything we can up until the internet at this portion of the house. I guess maybe later tonight we'll just reset the whole thing and see how that goes. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for hanging out. And again, my apologies for the internet. But if you go to IPMNation.com/ANB now, you can hear the audio. Dana, good evening. Thank you for joining us. We now have 15 hours and 56 minutes left, it looks like. Got to tell you. 81. Boy, that looks like something else, I've got to say. But we're very excited this hour to be hanging out here in a little bit. He'll be calling in. A good friend of mine, someone I've known for a lot of years, and he has an absolute passion. And I'll talk to him about it when he calls in. He has a personal passion. His mega passion, or ultra passion, or macro level passion, is worrying about the air you breathe, the air we breathe. So he is the official sponsor. His name is Paul. He's from Polentech. He's the big wig over there, but he has the Fan Buddy, and he's just cunningly brilliant when it comes to, he'll look at something and go, and then he'll see it and go, oh, how do I design this? How do I design that? He's just on top of it. So I wanted to be able to talk to him about it. Let's see who we have. Good evening.
The air you breathe.
There you go. Good evening. Hey, Paul, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'll have you turn. That's okay.
I'm going to take off the sound on the computer here. There we go.
How are you, sir?
I'm good.
I was just busy bragging about you, and I started to say that you outfitted the Immortal Up Studios here with fan buddies, but more importantly, I think, with Polentech, and I started to say about you was that you just have a brilliant, a cunning, as I've said before, a cunning intellect, where I've watched you look at something, tilt your head to one side, tilt it to the other, and go, hey, wait a minute, I think I can make that better. And I've watched you take things apart. I've watched you just do...
Does this mean I have to pay you more money?
No, you don't have to. No, not at all. But, Paul, it's great to hear your voice. Great to hear your laugh, as always. And, of course, I'm talking about the Fan Buddy. And they're all busy at work right now. But what I wanted to bring to give people an idea, Paul, because they're going to go, what are you talking about? Well, Here's the thing with Paul. When he first started with Fan Buddy, he'd go, yeah, there are some of these air purification systems that are $1 bajillion, but how about regular folks like me? How about folks that don't have $10,000, $20,000 to spend on these systems? So Paul had this vision of turning like a box fan or a tower fan. And like I said, they're all employed here in the studio. And what it does is it pulls from the air all kinds, when we talk about water purification, Paul, we talk about all the nasty little swimmers. And I like to think of your brilliance is like peeling out of the air all the nasty little flyers. And I brought one so that people can see this particular version fits right over your box fan. You throw on the fan, it pulls it through the the patented Pollen-Tech material, and it strips out all of the allergens, the pet dander. I'll let Paul tell you, I'm sure I'm not doing a service to all the different things that peels from the air, but I knew that with as much time as we'll be spending in the studio to do this, that I turned to Paul because I can't afford to be breathing in any more toxins than I already am. And of course, it's just a few days later, UPS knocks at the door and says, I've got like a third of a truck for you. So Paul, thank you for all the cool gear that you sent. And just as importantly, thank you for helping me in terms of filtering out those things in the air, because I saw a report the other day that said that air pollution, 90% of the air around the world that we breathe has some level of toxicity. And in this report, Paul, it said that if you live in a major city, and we're going to get into braided tire dust and some of those other things, but just in addition to allergens and pet dander and all the other things that are flying around in the air we breathe, they think now that this pollution is actually making us dumber. That this report said that scientists now think it causes us to donate IQ points, donate neurons, like it's going out of style, because our body is busy trying to beat back all the negative things flying around in our air. So I can't thank you enough, and we're so glad, let me put the logo up, we're so glad to have Pollen-Tech, have you on the air tonight telling us all about the benefits of Pollen-Tech and the Fan Buddy.
Well, gee whiz, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So give us a breakdown. How did you first start this? Because I know that because I've had it in the screens. You've outfitted screens in my places before, because you're like, Brian, you don't want to fall asleep breathing in all this stuff. So could you give me this is your life, Paul? Give me a 5-minute riff on how you got started in this and why it's become such a passion of yours.
Sure. Happy to. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. And I had a company where we were installing screen systems of all types for windows and doors. And I'm originally from Chicago. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. Great place to live. It's really quite nice here, I have to say. And good. I never had allergies my whole life. Never suffered from it until I moved here. And I didn't even know what was going on with me. My nose would be running. I'd have a headache. And my wife says, well, you have allergies. No, I don't. I've never had allergies. Well, you do now.
Right. Welcome to the jungle.
And she was right. So one day I was just sitting in my living room, windows shut, air conditioning on, suffering away. And I'm looking outside. I'm looking through my screens. And I'm in the screen business, right?
Sure.
And I thought to myself, why doesn't someone make a screen that blocks out pollen and dust? How hard can it be? And I thought, so I did some research, and there was nothing out there, nothing at all. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, geez, we can do this. And so I got together with some of my engineering friends and my textile friends, and I said, I have this idea. We have to have a screen that blocks and captures pollen and dust and keeps it from coming inside, so people can open their windows and turn off their air conditioning and breathe in clean, fresh air. Well, after about 4 months of trying to create this, we realized that we couldn't do it. And I gave up. I kind of gave up on it. I shelved it, and I said, maybe someday. And so lo and behold, about 6 months after that, I was buying some material in Germany for our products, and I wanted to buy a very specific type of pleated screen material. And the guy told me, well, you have to go to our supplier. I said, fine. So I call up the supplier, and I tell him what I want. I placed an order, and he says to me, would you be interested in some of our other products? I don't know. What do you got? And so, this is 6 months after I gave up. He says, well, we just invented a pollen screen. I said, what? A pollen screen. For windows and doors? Yes. Does it work? Yes, of course. And I thought to myself, really? I was in Europe in 2 weeks after that call. And this is a company I partnered with, a textile company, a 150-year-old textile company. They've been around for a long time. They do specialty textiles. And they have textile scientists there. It's quite the place. And so I went there and visited with them, and I became their North American distributor. And we brought this over and launched it in 2008 with great success, and we're doing quite well. And we hooked up with some physicians here that were allergists, and they thought it was, it's great. Mm-hmm. And the great thing about it is that it does, in fact, block pollen from coming into your home and dust and other particulates. And so you can turn off your air conditioning and save money and open your windows for the first time for a lot of people during allergy season and breathe fresh, clean air. And so we were selling that on a pretty steady basis, and I came up with this idea. One day, I'm kind of a clean freak, all right, and I was cleaning one of my fans. I take them apart, I put them back together, I wash them, put them back together, and I sat there and looking at the fan. I thought to myself, wait a minute, these fans are filthy, and my house is not that dirty at all. And I thought, they're just blowing all the shit. Oops, I shouldn't say shit.
That's okay.
all the crap that's floating around
in the air.
In the air that you can't see, but you know it's there. It's like when the sun is shining through your windows and you can see the dust floating around, right? Mm-hmm. And sure enough, when you run a fan for a period of time, they do get dirty.
Sure.
And I thought to myself, well, geez, I don't have a whole room air purifier because it's just, they're really expensive. And I thought to myself, why don't I put a filter on the back of one of these fans? We'll make it out of Polentech and maybe layer it with another material. And so ran over to Lowe's, bought a half a dozen box fans, and within a few weeks we had a prototype, and the Fan Buddy was born. And we started making them exclusively for box fans, and now we make them for circular fans, tower fans, industrial fans. Costco uses our filters on their fans in some of their bakeries, and that's how the whole thing got started. And so what we're doing is, we're bringing air purifying to people who can, who normally can't afford $400, $500, $600.
Sure.
And for $50, you've got something that is going to scrub your air. And the other great thing about it is the filter is washable and reusable and will last for years, and it'll be effective for that long as well. So that's it in a nutshell. I hope it wasn't too boring.
No, not at all. Well, and let me tell you this: it's not only does it help clean the air, it keeps it cool, right? You're getting a fan, and I'll tell you that after the surgeries that I've been subject to, I don't do well in air conditioning. It so dehydrates me, Paul, that it's just really tough. Spinal fluid. When it's fluid, it's tough enough to deal with. When you're dehydrated and it comes out to be like spinal chunks, it's even worse when it comes to the headache. So I don't get to benefit from air conditioning anymore. So, and then for me, one of the things about the Fan Buddy that I was instantly drawn to is that you don't appreciate it until you see, like you run a Fan Buddy, you come back the next day and it's just... It starts out black, right? As you know what it looks like, Paul. But for everyone else, this is nice and clean. This is pristine. You come back the next morning, and this thing looks like it's been pelted with snowballs. Because what it's done is it's pulled everything from the air. The pollen, the dust, I guess, bed bug wings. Pet dander, whatever, right? All these little things. Yeah. And so what happens is, as a fan works, as everyone should know, fans work by pulling air into them and spitting them out the front end. Well, the Fan Buddy goes on the end that pulls the air in, and then this special material traps them. It's like a giant magnet. It traps all that, and then what comes out the other end is clean, cool air. So I have to ask you this, Paul, because a friend of mine said to me the other day, well, does he make units for outside air conditioners? Because when they saw it, they were here in the studio, they go, why can't he make me one that just drapes over my outside air conditioner, so it's getting the benefit of the fan, buddy? And I go, I don't know, but I'm going to talk to him here over the weekend. I'll ask him.
Yeah, we have made those for people.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, we just had a guy from Oregon who owns 5 really big greenhouses. And they have these huge intake fans on each greenhouse. And all of his plants are getting cross-pollinated. And so we made him 4 by 4 foot filters for the back of these fans.
Unbelievable. So then it could work. Like if someone wanted to contact you and say, Paul, I'd like to get one of these, almost like like a drape that would go over top of it. I imagine you'd want to clean it every so often if you're dragging in outside air, but that would be something else. And then I want to talk to you about another topic. I don't know how near and dear to your heart it is. I know it's something that you've been thinking about for a lot of years, and you've been worried about for a lot of years. But can you tell me about abraded tire dust and why, when I read these reports that they say now, if you live in a major city near a highway, that abraded tire dust, we had Stephen from Pure on earlier, Paul, and he was talking about microplastics in the water. You can't get away from them. Well, apparently now, according to these articles, you live in a major city, you'd think, okay, well, I got tires on my car. Did you ever have to replace the tires? Well, yeah. Why? Well, because they wore down. Well, where do you think all that wearing down went? Right?
Well, here's a number for you. Here's a number.
Okay.
Every tire emits 4 to 6 pounds of abraded tire dust into the atmosphere. Every tire that's on the road. Think about that, how much that puts into our air that we're breathing. It's a huge number.
It's a huge number, and I would think that when you look at, and I remember Chris Tomer, who is a mutual friend of ours, who's a meteorologist in Denver, was talking about how they're afraid of this abraded tire dust getting into the jet stream and ending up all over the place. And then this article, Paul, I was reading about the wildfires out west and all the other things that are getting into the air. That's a really big, scary deal. And if they say, look, if you're older, you're 70, 75, 80, and they're like, you got to worry about Alzheimer's, you got to worry about cognitive decline, dementia, this and that. But this article focused on young kids. And it focused on these kids, what happens when they breathe in polluted air, what happens when they breathe in abraded tire dust. And according to these scientists, it starts attacking your neurons like it's going out of style. So it's a really big deal, I would think, to be able, you think about it, you fall asleep for 8 to 10 hours a day. You're sitting there with a regular old screen, and you live in the city, and you're breathing in all this crap. What must that mean to your lungs?
Oh, I know. It's horrible.
And then you think when you move to Phoenix, you got the allergies. So you go, okay, there's pollen. There's obviously pollen tech, right? You've got these other things, and you start breathing that in. I will tell you, Paul, and let me throw it up here because also you can go over to tryh2.com. Pollen Tech is one of my favorites over there as well. You can learn all about it at tryh2.com. I've also got the Pollen Tech logo up here as well. For me, Paul, when I got out of my last surgery, the doctors, were pretty certain. They said, your immune system will be able to heal. Well, it started out as a golf ball size brain tumor. By the time they were done digging around and everything else, I think I have a tennis ball size hole in my head. But they're like, look, your immune system, Paul's known me for a lot of years. He goes, Bri, you acted like there was a hole in your head long before they found the tumor. But my doctor said, look, we're confident that your immune system will rally to the cause. But, you have to make sure your immune system isn't distracted. You have to make sure your immune system isn't trying to put out spot fires all over the place. Because if you can get your immune system to be all hands on deck, we think you stand a chance of beating this. So then I got back and I thought, okay, I got to watch the water that I drink. I got to watch the food that I eat because of oxidative stress and all of it's, what they say now is happening. So then I got to watch the air that I breathe because if I want this brain incision to ever heal, then I have to make sure that my immune system isn't busy fighting all these other fires. So I guess the question, Paul, and you probably can't put a scientific answer to it, but if every tire donates to the air we breathe 4 to 6 pounds of abraded tire dust, isn't your immune system fighting for its life when it comes to inhaling and breathing all of that tire dust into your lungs?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course. And you're right. I can't put a number to that, but if you just do a quick calculation, kind of how many cars are on the road, 4 tires per car, sometimes more.
Sure.
It's millions of tons of tire dust. It's a big problem, and people don't know it. And not enough people know it, I should say.
And I would say that if you're busy, how much your immune system feel? And you're right. I don't think they know it. Paul, I have 3 executive producers have just entered the studio. So would you like to say hello to Mr. Paul? Say hello to everyone. Okay. Yes, please. Okay. I like the way you use your manners. Hello. Say hello. Say thank you for coming on the show. Okay. Executive producer number 1. Don't forget to say hi, Mr. Paul. Right? I know you can't hear him, but I can. And he says hello.
Hi, Mr.
Hi.
Paul.
Hi, Mr. Paul. He says, say, have a great evening.
Have a great evening.
And you do
And he
the
says,
same as
you
well,
do
please.
the same. Okay, we have one more. We have 3 executive producers here. Now, I know you will say, look over right over here. Go, hi, Mr. Paul. Say hi. Hi.
Hi.
Okay, say, have a great evening. Night, night. Okay, say night, night. Very good. All right,
Night.
guys. Good night, good night, good night. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the morning. So that's what we've been talking about this evening, Paul, is that I'm now, as you know, with a total of 5 kids, I'm responsible for what they breathe in. I'm responsible for what they eat. I'm responsible for what they drink. You know what I mean? Good night, buddy. I'll see you in the morning. Right? So it'd be different.
That's so cute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Let me say hello to Candace.
Thanks for that. I haven't seen them.
I know it's
for
been a
long
while, hasn't it? Yeah, I thought you would.
Yeah.
You'd appreciate that. And I'll also say hello to Patricia. Patricia, thank you for joining us. And Shane, Gordon, Zoe, thank you for joining us. Dana and Kelly, thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being, and John as well. Thank you. We're talking to Paul, the big wig, the big cheese, the brains. And I say brains because, Paul, when I remember one time you were over to the house and I went to do something and I came back and you had like was it an Eden Pure? You had some kind of forced air heater, portable heater we were using, and you had it all taken apart. And you go, I can build a filter for that. And I go,
Well, you had
"What?"
that.
Yeah.
I was staying in your guest room, and that thing was blowing on me. I thought, well, it's blowing on me. You better have a filter in it.
I better have a filter. So I come out, you're busy taking it apart. I'll tell you something else I learned from that trip. I used to say, if I'm not going to go to bed for 90 minutes, I'm not going to go to bed at all. But you also taught me the benefit of the 20-minute power nap, which I'll be taking advantage of here shortly after midnight. You know, for this record, Paul, I'm allowed 20 minutes every 4 hours. So my goal is I'll broadcast for 12, and then I'm going to sleep right underneath the fan, buddy, for an hour, right? Because I get 20 minutes every 4 hours, and then I'll get up and finish out the rest of the 24 hours. But the benefit of that was you taught me about the power of a cat nap. And I will tell you now that you were absolutely, unequivocally right. 20 minutes. Because I would look at you and go, what are you going to do with 20 minutes? Won't you be sound asleep? And you'd pop up and you were going and off to these meetings and doing all these other things. It was only after the surgery that I realized how right you were. Because I take 20 minutes now, I'm up, and I feel great. So I thank you for that.
I mean, you
I
can
thank
train
you for that
yourself
as well.
to do that. I mean, I've been doing it for 30 years, and you know, once you get it in your head, it's amazing how the body will listen to what you tell it to do. You know, back in the day, so you know, in between clients, I would take a 20-minute cat nap, and I would be completely refreshed. And I still do these things. My son does it.
Oh, good.
And and he does it without me even saying anything about it.
Well, then you know what? He's got a great role model. He's watched and listened just by doing that. All right, Paul, we have to. Would you mind holding for a little bit? We're going to run to the bottom of the hour, which is about 3 minutes, and then we'll be back because I want to unpack this whole thing about not just if you have allergies, right, but abraded tire dust, and Misty was on earlier talking about cleaning chemicals that get up and in the air and all these other things. So I'd like to pick your brain. I'd like to pick your brain about that. So thank you very much. All right, we're going to run to the bottom of the hour. We will be right. Let me see, I got this right. Yeah, we will be right back.
You're listening to the #1 rated all-natural being with Brian Brawdy here on IPMNation.com. It's not a midlife crisis or even a quarter-life crisis. It's your shot to recapture your remarkable.
Top of the day from the bottom of the hour. You're listening to the #1 rated all-natural being here on IPMNation.com. Thank you so very much for stopping over and hanging out with us. All right, we are back. Where are we at here? 8 hours and 30 minutes. Paul, I've known for quite some time I'm full of it, but I never thought I would, right? I never thought I'd be in a position to prove just how full of it I am. 8 hours and 30 minutes into it. We're going to go, as you know, for 24 hours this time, all on our way to the Guinness World Record, 81 hours, 81 to win later this December. So I want to thank you and the good folks, everyone you have there at Polentech, for helping us outfit the Mortal Up Studios so that I'm not breathing in all this gunk you and I have been talking about. I have the shorter tower fan, which is, believe it or not only is it filtering the air now, I'm using it to keep the back of the computers and all the cameras and the soundboards and everything cool. And then I have the taller tower fan keeping the guest area nice and cool. And my favorite, the Fan Buddy, I have it in the back of the studio cranking away. So I'm using all three of them. So thank you again very much.
Yeah, just if I may interject one tidbit there.
Yeah, please.
Not only are they're great for cleaning the air, but one of the things that one of the most devastating things for a fan's failure is they get dirty, and they get really, really dirty. And so that's the leading cause of fan failure. And what our filters do is not only help clean the air, but they keep your fan clean. And in turn, it'll make that fan last a whole lot longer.
That's a great point, because if you think of it, as I said before, the Polytech material, right, when you have in your fan buddy, it is between, now that I think about it, it's between the guts of your fan and all the bad guys in the air. And we don't want to be sexist. Believe it or not, Paul, I got in trouble the other day. I go, well, it's not just bad guys, it's bad girls. So great. For all the bad guys and bad girls floating around in the air, it comes through the Polytech material. So you're right. It doesn't have a chance to get to the motor, the guts of the fan. It doesn't have a chance to get in there and cog it all up, because the fan buddy is stripping that from the air before it even gets to the fan, and you're getting the benefit of cool, cleaned air on top of increasing your fan's what use or life or whatever, what's it called, shelf life or whatever. You're increasing the actual length of your fan's life, so that's saving you money as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we go through a lot of different fans here because we test them all before we put filters on them. And prior to having and the tower fans are very expensive. They can get to $100. And after a year's use, they look like hell. And they're by design, they're very difficult to clean. The manufacturers make it almost impossible to open it up. And then that's a whole other can of worms. If you're not a pretty handy person,
right,
picking apart a tower fan is kind of a big mistake. And so, when you spend that kind of money on a fan, you want it to be around and look nice for at least a few years. But typically after a year and a half, they start looking pretty nasty.
They do look like a science project. I'll give it to you. It looks like what you try to do at Halloween, right? When you want to put cobwebs and get stuff everywhere. I'll give it to you. And not you're too nice a guy to say, but not that you would ever accuse any of these fan companies of a planned obsolescence. But I would imagine in some ways the fan companies love you. And then in some ways, they look at you like Jerry Seinfeld used to look at that actor when he walked in the room and went, Newman, right? They look at you and go, wait a minute. We had designed into this the ability that these people had to change their fans every year because of all the gunk. But then you come along, you're extending the lives of their fans. So I got to imagine these people aren't sending you Christmas cards. They're not reaching out to you on your birthday.
Well, I've got a pretty good story about that one from one of the biggest fan manufacturers in the country for that very reason. But we don't need to go into it unless you want to.
No, I don't want you to get. So don't mention the name of the company. But you could.
Yeah,
let's hear it. I'd love to hear that.
Okay, it's a good story. So I just invented the Fan Buddy. Just put it up on our website. It was up for 2 weeks, and I get a call from one of the biggest fan companies in the world. The president calls me up, and I was like, really? And he goes, well, we really like this idea. I think it's phenomenal. We'd like to fly you out, and we want to show you we want to partner with you. This is a phenomenal idea. I was just stunned, and I thought, I just won the lottery, right?
Right.
So he never calls me back. And so I start sending them emails. I start, calling and no response. And I thought, well, that was pretty weird after that big uproar about how much he wanted to work up with us. And so finally, after 6 weeks, he sends me an email and says, we're not the least bit interested in your products. Thank you very much.
Get out of here.
What was that about?
Right.
And I thought, okay, well, they're probably going to copy the products, and I don't know. So I just let it go. And so a few months after that, I was talking to a marketing guy, and I told him this story, and he started laughing. And he says, well, I can tell you right now that those fans aren't designed to last long. And by you putting a filter on that fan, guess what that does? I said, what? He goes, it extends the life of that fan exponentially. And he goes, I can guarantee you that these fan companies have a certain percentage every year that they know X amount of fans are going to be thrown away because they're dirty and people don't want to mess with them. And I thought, wow, I think you might be right. But, well, he was right because after a few months of fielding a bunch of phone calls from people, and they would say, well, how do I clean my fan? I said, said, well, you got to take 6 screws out the back and 6 screws out the front, and then you got to be careful not to strip them out. And they were like, oh, forget it. I'll just buy a new one. And I thought, that guy was right. He was absolutely right. And so, sure enough, I believe that they don't like me for that reason, for sure.
I believe that because
sorry, fan companies.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, you know what? You're sticking it to the man or the woman, right? So we're not mansplaining. You're sticking it to the people that planned this obsolescence. So let me ask you another question. How is it then? Because I've watched you put Polytech material everywhere, and you and I have talked about, what if I made a mask, right? How about automobile filters? I mean, is there any place that you've come across that you go, you know what? I just can't make that work? Or is your sense of entrepreneurial is one thing, but your sense, I refer to you as a mad scientist, right? Is your sense there isn't any flow of air that you can't capture and clean with some version of Polytech or the Fan Buddy? Well,
we have made them for automobile filters, and the design that we created didn't work well. I mean, it wasn't the filter itself; it was the housing that we had to make. And
sure.
So, but we put them in our cars, and we decided to shelf that for a period of time, and
Gotcha.
we're going to next year relaunch that. I'm surprised. Every month, someone calls me and says to me, "Have you ever thought of using it for this?" And I'm like, "No, but that's a really good idea." And I think I will.
I think I will. Yeah. Oh, so you have to just do it and you go, well, yes, we're in long-term development stages. I can't talk about it right now, right? And then you're busy writing down and mailing it to yourself or whatever. But no, I can imagine that. Because people watching it would go, I want to protect my lungs. I want to protect the lungs of my kids, my family, my pets, my this and that. So I can imagine people call and go, hey, wouldn't it work here or wouldn't it work there? It's one of the things, kind of like I said to Steve from ProPure earlier, Paul, that if you filter his water, you take a sip, you'll never wonder about it again. You hook up a Fan Buddy in any variation that you want, with tower, box fan, however you want to do it. You come back and you see the gunk that would have been in your throat and your lungs if it hadn't been for the Fan Buddy, if it hadn't been for that Polytech material, instantly a fan, no pun intended, instantly a consumer, right? Or whatever it is. You would say instantly, because you can take you know this, but you go at the back of a Fan Buddy, you let it run for a day, and depending upon how long it's been, you let it run. You can go like this, and your fingers can just go right down. You know what, Paul? I'm going to hold on, right? One second. So here's the rules, Paul. You got to help me out here. The rules are I can't walk away and keep from talking for more than 4 minutes. But I need you to talk for a minute because I'm going to go to the back of the studio and I'm going to get the actual Fan Buddy so that people can see. So in order that I don't get thrown off from the record, would you just keep talking for like 60 seconds and I'll be right back?
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
Just talk about our days at as personal trainers. Whatever you want. All right.
I'll do
okay,
it.
I'll be right back.
Before the Fan Buddies, we were making, and we still are to this day, furnace filters and AC filters for your home systems. And we just came out with a new model that we're going to be launching in the next couple of weeks. It's a washable and reusable furnace filter. Will last for years. It's made from the Polytech material combined with another layer of a dense polyflow material, and it's a washable and reusable filter, and highly effective. We're looking for good things with that, and we're launching it on Amazon next week, and I think it'll do quite well. And other than that, we've got a few other projects coming up in the near future. There's some different products, and we'll be launching those. So it's pretty exciting. It's been a great run for us for the last 7 years. Lots of new developments and lots of new products. And there's your box fan. And how long have you been running that filter on that fan? You can't hear me.
Okay, no, I can now. Yeah, my luck, the world record people will call back and go, "Oh, I'm sorry, you walked away." It's a radio show, not a television show. Get a grip. So here's the deal. The other day, and you should know, and because you got a chance to see everybody earlier, when Blyden and Brooks were first born, and I think even with Parker Page, when you first introduced the concept, when they were first born, the benefit of the Fan Buddy was that it was the perfect white noise for them to fall asleep with, right, Paul? So now can you see this on camera? Can you see? Is that showing up? That's what's being. So think of this for a second. This is brand new. And this is the one full of gunk that's pulling, right? Because it's a somewhat older model, but it's pulling it through here. And if you look, you can see the crap that's all over it. But when the boys were born, and then later when Berlin was up, it was the perfect white noise machine because I became obsessed with making sure they were sleeping all the while breathing in clean air. And it turned out to be the perfect white noise to help them nod right off. So it was, as you reminded me, it saves the life of the fan. But to be candid, you sent me the fan, so why do I care? It saves the life of the fan. It strips the air and cools it, and it was the perfect nanny.
But that's one of our first models we got there.
Yeah. Well, that's back in the day. But look at that, right? Is that coming across on camera? I think it is.
Not so well, but that's okay.
All right, stand by. Right, I'm running the show here. Move as far. You watch, I'll knock everything out all over the place. All right, there you go. Oh, how's that look? That's got to be showing it. There you go. That'll show everyone what I'm talking about. So for me, it was the perfect nanny. It was the perfect air filter. And it was the perfect way because I didn't want them falling asleep in the air conditioner, right? I wanted them to actually be able to breathe some cool air. So there you go. Now it's showing. Look at that. Yeah. So that's what it's cleaned just since I brought it down here, Paul. And then I have the two tower fans working around the clock to clean it up as well. So I wanted people to see what it actually pulls from the air. So it's just a brilliant design. And I think when we go back talking about abraded tire dust and everything else, or pollens, pet dander, those things, if you can't breathe well, you're not sleeping well. And not being able to sleep well is an absolute attack on your immune system. Well, like when you have the screens or you have the fans, do you find that you just sleep better? Because your lungs aren't busy beating back all this crap in the air. What say you?
Absolutely. I have my fan on my side of the bed. My wife has hers. My kids have theirs in their room. We've got fans all over our house, and everyone has a filter on it. And for some reason, I'm the only one that seems to clean any of those filters. I guess it's my job. But that's the other thing. They're so easy to clean, and
right.
Especially the tower fan filters. You just rinse them out under your sink and let them air dry. It's a pretty simple process.
And now with the summertime, I just clean them off and throw them right on the back, on the picnic table out back. The sun dries them instantly, and they're up and ready to go again. It's really something to the design of the tower fans and how you thought about it. Because here's the thing I think, and I'm not an inventor, so I don't know. But my sense is when you look at something and it's so simple, you go, why didn't I think of that? It's a brilliant design, right? When I looked at what you sent and I went, that is one crafty guy. That is one smart guy, because it makes perfect sense the way you designed it.
Well, I got a funny story. I had a university professor from Cornell call me a few years back, and he super nice guy, and he bought two filters for his box fans, Fan Buddy filters. And we had a nice conversation. He thought it was a great idea. So he says, actually, he calls me. He calls me about 2 weeks later, and he's real serious. He says, Paul, I really think this is a great idea, but my son and I, we you have a serious design flaw. I said, oh, really? He goes, well, when you put the filter on the fan and you turn the fan on, the fan blows the filter off. And I'm biting my tongue here, right? And so there's a nice long pause, and I let it be a nice long pause, and I forget his name, and I said, the problem is not so much our design, but you didn't read the instructions. The filter goes on the back of the fan, not on the front of the fan. It goes on the air intake. And he just dead silent, and he just went bananas. How stupid can I be? I'm a university professor. I can't even figure this out. It was hysterical.
Yeah,
just
one of those
hysterical.
poison Ivy League educations, right? You got to watch. You got to watch that.
Read the instructions.
That's great. Just read. But again, it comes back to brilliance being when you see something, you go, well, of course that would work the way it's designed. Right? When you look at it, you go, that's just brilliant. I can't get over it. And I will tell you, again, thank you very much for supplying the fans for the Mortal Up Studios here, because one of the things that I know that I'm aware of, other than, I'm up against leaking spinal fluid and I'm up against the amnesia, I'm up against all these other things, is that I've yet to meet a doctor, Paul, that says, oh, you got a brain shunt. That tacked 25 years on your life. Right? I don't mean anyone saying that to me. So I have to really watch everything I can about I'm not the bubble boy, right? Like you and I are going to play moops. It says moops, right? No, I'm not the bubble boy. It's not that bad yet. Day's young, but I have to watch what I drink. I have to watch what I eat. I have to watch what I breathe. So if this is an integral part of the air in my home, has been since I first ever saw it, and the logo's up now, the Pollen Tech and the Fan Buddy, because it makes all the difference in the world, and it's easy. It may not be easy to see on camera now, but it's easy to see the stuff that's stripped from your air, and more importantly, it isn't ending up in your lungs.
Right.
That's huge.
Yep.
So,
and if you think about the little ones at home, they're more vulnerable when they're young.
Well, that's what the article said, Paul. They said now that it's the younger kids who they say, no, their GPA is suffering. I think the article, if I remember it, and I sent it to you, it said that they're a full grade, if not 2 grades behind if they live in a heavily polluted area. And you think if your immune system is doing everything it can to fight those toxins, or at least those things that are foreign to it, it's no wonder the brains aren't forming the way they should, right? Your immune system's busy beating up everything else that tries to attack you. Makes perfect sense that it could be tough on your brain as well. And that was a big-time study. It wasn't like we were just making it up. That was a pretty big to-do. Don't forget, tryh2.com. Pollen Tech is over there. The Fan Buddy is over there. Is one of my terrific 10. Absolutely one of the top products that I rely on as I battle back from a brain tumor and figuring out what I've got to do to extend as long as right. I got kids, right? I'd like to live to be old enough to at least have a beer with one of them. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
So
do you think, my kid's a little bit older now than yours, in high school and college, and they're good kids. They're getting really good grades. Do you think I could say to them, I said, the reason why you're getting such good grades is because you've been having a Fan Buddy in your room all these years?
Yes. I'll write that commercial for you. Yes, right? Because, I'll write that commercial for you. Let's do it right now. We'll cut to commercial. No, right? Because according to this article, it's like if your body's busy beating back some of these other things, it can't focus. Kelly says in the thread, Paul, Kelly says, much like pregnant women smoking. Not good, right? Not good. And if you so when you think of, secondhand cigarette smoke, and I got to tell you, it just bugs me. You go to like a public building or a restaurant or something, and you got to walk through where everyone's smoking. That's a different story, right? Talk about it. Talk about another time. It just drives me nuts, right? So it's like, hey, can I borrow your Fan Buddy? Yeah. I'll only get in trouble. If I say like Fan Buddy Burka, I'm only going to get in trouble. So I won't even say that out loud, right? And then anyone that says, did you just say that? I got amnesia. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But you get to some of these points, and I just like to wrap my head in a Fan Buddy and walk around in that material, because who knows what we're breathing in anymore. So I think Kelly's absolutely right. Much like a pregnant woman smoking, little kids, we're responsible for them, Paul. They don't have any say in being here. Speaking about little kids, my younger brother, John. Hello, John. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being, right? But we're responsible for them. So, yes, I think, and if they turn out to be, if they graduate top of their class or Nobel laureates, I know your kids, they're sharp cookies. Turn out to be Nobel laureates, I think you get a part of the praise for that. Purifying the air. That's my take. All right. In the final minutes, what else you got for us? But in the final minutes before we let you go, I promised I wouldn't hold you for the full hour. I mean, we've been joking a little bit about it, but how important is it to your overall health? I mean, they're your lungs. The medical community uses the cessation of your breath as a pretty big indicator you're about ready to buy the farm. I mean, breathing, we take it for granted because we do it all this time, right? But breathing is a pretty big deal. And if you're constantly breathing in this crap, it just isn't going to be any good for you in the long run, is it?
No. I mean, just like smoking.
Sure.
You do that long enough, it's going to catch up to you. And you breathe in enough crap that's in the air, it's all going to catch up to you in one way or the other.
And I can remember living in Chicago where you go to a windowsill and the windows would be open. There'd be black, like dust everywhere. And now, as you say, 4 to 6 pounds per tire, not per car, 4 to 6 pounds per tire. And it's got to end up somewhere. And in the wintertime, when you don't have winters anymore because it's like 130 degrees there year round. But you remember what winters were like in Chicago?
It gets cold here in the 50s and stuff like that.
Oh, how do you get through the day 50s? You must have a shawl, right? You must have a shawl.
People wear parkas here when it's 50 degrees. It's amazing.
Yeah, parkas and flip-flops. Right? Parkas and flip-flops. But you remember what snow alongside of the road was like in Chicago. The plows would come through, and then like a day later, the snow's all gray and black. And then it wasn't until later that I'm Irish, so things take a little longer to dial into my mind maybe than some. But I'm like, wait a minute, it's black and it's gray. Not because of the salt, but because of the abraded tire dust. Talk about where the rubber meets the road, and then the wind it dries out, the wind kicks up, it's up in the atmosphere, and then here goes Paul Bryan walking down the Magnificent Mile, taking a lunch break, walking from the gym, and we're breathing in all this crap. Not good. Not good at all.
No.
All right,
Not
Paul.
At all.
So let me say this. I know that if you go to tryh2.com, there's a special setup over there. Do yourself a favor. Get a fan buddy. Just try one, and I'm sure there's some kind of knowing Paul. There's some kind of guarantee. Just put it in your home. I promise you're never going to send a thing back because you're going to be so pleasantly. Well, let me put it this way, Paul. You're going to be pleasantly disgusted. Right?
Yeah, people are.
Yeah, pleasantly disgusted. You're like, I was breathing this? No way. So go over to tryh2.com, hook yourself up with any of the Pollen Tech product and the Fan Buddy product, and believe me, you'll be very happy that you did. Everyone in your house will be sleeping. You have to sleep next to someone that snores because of allergies, right? That's no fun. So believe me, everyone in your family will be happy. Paul, final thoughts before we let you go.
Well, Brian, I met you 25 years ago.
Golly.
And I remember it like it was yesterday.
No, brother.
We were working out in the gym. Actually, I was training someone. And for whatever reason, we just kind of looked at each other and smiled. And we both walked up to each other and introduced ourselves. And I knew at that point, this is a great guy, and we became friends. And I admire you. You're an amazing dude, and you just keep up all that good work that you're doing.
Well, please tell Melissa and the kids that I said howdy. I think of the last time we were all together for dinner, and I mean that about you. You're one of those types where I can just watch your mind work going, I can figure this out. There's a workaround. I can do this. I can do that. So when it comes to car filters and everything else, you'll be doing it. We'll be having a call next year sometime. You'll go, remember when I said it was this and that? You'll figure it out. I have no doubt about you because just like in weight training, You just never stop. It's a progressive adaptation. And if you don't know Paul, he's a mountain of a man. He's huge. He should be like on that Kings of Thrones of Swords and Stones, whatever that HBO.
I don't know. I've never seen that show.
Me neither. Well, I've heard about it, but just these big guys that can lift boulders, that's what Paul is. 2% body fat and built like a brick wall.
Oh, no, not anymore.
Enough about me. But one of the things about it is that he brings to entrepreneurship and invention, he brings the same progressive adaptation as you would deadlifting or bench pressing. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He keeps coming and coming and coming and coming until he figures it out. So I'm super fired up that it's going so well from you, that it's going gangbusters the way it is. And 25 years, my friend, I'm hoping that you and I get to talk 25 years from now. We will.
Absolutely will.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, then I'll be going, yeah, these 25 years, I owe it to you and the fan buddy for helping me breathe clean air. But it's great to hear your voice as always. And I hope to see you again sometime soon.
Likewise.
All right, Paul.
Take care, my friend.
Take care. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That's Paul from Pollen-Tech. Really just a very creative, in terms of being an entrepreneur, he never stops. He never quits. He just keeps coming and coming and coming. He's like that guy in martial arts that you just don't want to go up against because you can't stop him. You can't derail him. You can't hit him. You can't, if I had to pick a fight, if Paul and I were going to fight, I'd run over him with a car. Great. There's no way I would square my shoulders. Well, he brings that same tenacity to invention and entrepreneurship. So head on over to tryh2.com. I'm going to leave here with a break with his logo up as well so that you can learn all about Pollen-Tech, and just know that the CEO of this company is a good guy, and your lungs are his passion, right? The air you breathe is something that's on his mind all the time. All right, we're going to go ahead and run. Already the top of the hour. We've got a great hour coming up for you as well. Thank you so very much for being a part of All Natural Being, now going on 9 hours. All right, what are you going to do? We will be back in just a minute.
Hey there, this is Lee Rowley from Sales Copy Academy, and you're listening to the live 24-hour All Natural Being Marathon with my good friend Brian Brawdy. Keep your mitts off that browser tab because Brian will be right back after this short break with another solid hour of all natural shenanigans on All Natural Being. Stay tuned.
IPMNation.com.